the committee of the whole meeting for Tuesday, June 13th, being held at the council chambers, which are temporarily located at 38 King George Street, Lake Cowichan, and transmitted electronically on YouTube as well. I'd like to acknowledge that we are coming to you from the Subats lands, where we are lucky enough to live, work, and play. To start off with, I'd like to call for any introduction of late items. And we're going to go.
Thank you. I have a couple. I have one under new business, please. B, town gift for the Otaki delegation. And under notices of motion, I'd like to bring forward a inquiry response policy pertaining to emails and phone calls for future meeting.
And I would like to add two under new business. C would be Chamber of Commerce location. And an additional one, new business D, business directory on the town website. I don't know how to word that. And with that, do I have an approval for the agenda? Moved by Councillor Markia, seconded by Councillor Sandhu. All those in favour? Those opposed? Minutes from the committee of the whole meeting held on May 19th. May 9th. Who was presenting that one? Sandhu?
No, it's just for information.
Just for information. Oh, because they have to be ratified. Okay, sorry, my bad. Business arising in unfinished business, nothing. Delegation representatives, nothing. Correspondence from
Mr. Chair, I would like to declare a conflict of interest on this topic, as I am the vice chair of the funding agency, the Cotw Lake Community Force Co-op. So I will leave the room.
I preloaded it.
Yeah, I got a copy of that.
Oh, now it's good.
I just print most of the important stuff.
Yes.
It is covered in the Chief Administrative Officer's report under new business A.
Okay, we can move it to there. Okay, we'll move that to, we'll address that in new business. So we can get Honourable back in.
Thanks for realigning the agenda.
So one thing I missed that we were going to change up was question period will be at the end of this meeting. If you would like to enter questions, you can do so via email at general@lakecowichan.ca or call in as well. Wish I knew the phone number.
749-6681.
Yeah.
Extension 108.
Extension 108. There we go. Moving on to reports, Director of Finance, Ms. Gill.
The financial statements are here. They include the property tax revenue for 2023. That's why you'll notice the big jump in revenue. Business license fees also were billed out last year, include amounts that were not collected. We mailed out the property tax notices May the 18th. Just a reminder that they're due by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, July the 4th. And also a reminder that you have to claim the homeowner grant each year. Even if you are deferring your taxes or your mortgage company is paying, you still have to claim the grant if you're eligible. And that's all I have to say. And also, if you're making online payments, to make them early, as the bank can take up to 3 to 5 business days to get your payment to us. So it has to be here to be considered on time. Any other questions? I'd be happy to help.
And we're gonna go.
So just to clarify, the homeowner grant is not at the town of Lake Cowichan. It is through the province of British Columbia. It has been for 2 years now.
This is the third
Year. So if you are looking to do that, make sure you do it online, please. Just a reminder.
Any other questions on finance?
Thank you. Just through to the Director of Finance. Couple questions. The interest on investments, we had budgeted for 50,000, and so what actual is 230,210?
Yeah, the interest rate, there's more revenue in there with the grant money, and also the interest rates have increased even more. And some of that interest revenue is not revenue, it'll be allocated out to the different surplus and stuff. But yes, it is a lot higher than your correct projected.
Yeah, and I have just a couple more questions, if I may. Poverty reduction strategy that we budgeted 15,000. So what is the status of that group? And I think Councilor Bomaka is the representative on that.
Is that the one with,
Yeah.
Rosalie?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Once they had a meeting, but it was all to do with events. We found out what they were.
Yeah, it's a float through from us, but I'm not sure what the status is.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's what I wasn't sure about it.
Yes.
Okay. And under footbridge improvements, we had applied for a grant. Have we heard back on that?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Okay. And one more question.
I'll piggyback on that.
Maybe next.
Do we know if the other grants have been awarded?
Okay.
Have the other
Apparently
grant-
Apparently the superintendent saying that we didn't get that grant, so
Okay.
we will go ahead and proceed with the our portion, use that for renovations that are much needed on that bridge.
Can we talk about that now, just so if anyone watching this understands, because there's been some issues. So a senior fell recently a few weeks ago on the bridge, and there was quite a discussion on Facebook. So I thought if we're going to be utilizing our percentage of the project, when will that happen?
I'm in the process right now of getting quotes, different quotes, so once I get the quotes in, I'll go over them with Joe and we're gonna proceed. We won't do it before probably September, October. We'll let the summer, after summer business.
Is there small fixes we can do just to bring it up to safety as far as the surface and a few of the?
We've done some
Yeah.
repairs.
Okay.
Yeah. We can have a look at it again and do the rotted areas and kind of hold a little piece.
And as far as using that portion to do the upgrade, what is the scope of work we're gonna do to repair it? Is it just surfacing
Surfacing and rail.
and rail? Okay.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Councilor Maka?
So I can ask what our portion is budgeted.
I'd have to go back and check, but I think it's around $30,000 or $40,000.
It's more than that, but
Is it more than that?
I don't.
Yeah, I'd have to get into that number.
Minimal renovation.
Yeah, we'll have a new deck on it and new rail.
No other questions, I'll move on to the building inspection report. Moved by Councillor Sandu, seconded by McGonigal. Is that something we've got to approve?
No, it's just information.
Just for information. Okay, is there any questions on the inspection report? With that, I'll move on to the fire department incident report for April.
Still waiting. I'd like to move, I can move the.
Yeah,
Did you get
if
it
you can
yet?
give me, there we go.
14,265.88 for April.
Moved by Councillor Austin, seconded by Marker. I'll call the question. All those in favour? Opposed, if any? So you want- He's
That is
telling-
being
it's in the back
resolved.
here, everyone's favour, that is.
Oh,
Moving on to the municipal hall update. skill. You would like to tackle that?
So were you able to open it and look at it?
I have a printed copy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the current status is listed there. We're coordinating the installation of services with Cotw and the IT firm. I guess the last change order is attached, which explains the cladding issue. And,
Okay, any questions about the change order or anything with the update? I guess just to add some context to it. So as far as the cladding issue, the wall was constructed without anything to attach the hardy to. So they had to revisit that and create something to attach to the hardy to. And obviously that came with quite the expense. It was missed on the drawing as far as I'm aware, and come back at great expense because of that. Although I must say their quality of workmanship is quite high. Okay, if there's no more questions on the wall update, we'll move on to the wildlife emergency response. Wildfire, did I say wildlife? Is this just for information? Oh, here we go. Councillor Sandhu.
I had actually just asked this to be on our committee of the whole meeting so that we can discuss the emergency program that, or not program, sorry, the emergency response locally, more locally, if we have an emergency here where we're on our own type of thing. I just wanted an understanding of what the process is for how do we reach out to residents if we have a wildfire? Highway 18 is blocked off due to a wildfire. And I look at Highway 4 and Port Alberni and whatnot, and you know, what they've had to do. And just so our residents understand what the process may be on these things. So this document is like 567 pages. So it's a lot to read. So I'm trying to skim through so many pages a day just to get an understanding. But I think we'll wait for our CAO to come back, as he is our coordinator for the town. And then we can discuss this further.
I think I can give some clarity on the question, especially on the local state of emergency as has been done in Port Alberni, for instance. That unfortunately is the job of the mayor to declare a local state of emergency. And upon that declaration, some funding is available through the province. The local RCMP will be the ones to be going and letting the residents know that it is an evacuation alert or evacuation order. There would be some help within the regional emergency response. We are now partners up. And in conjunction with the police would be the ambulance and fire department that would also help in realizing evacuation alert to the residents. From there, look to other entities eventually for that funding to come flowing through, help us with any problems that we advise them. But we can get a better idea upon Mr. Fernandez's return as to the pecking order of that order, if you wish. But that's it in a nutshell. That's Cole's notes, if you wish.
Ms. Russell.
Do we have fire smart information on our website? Check that out, because I talked to my neighbors about having your sprinkler on the roof. We've got a sprinkler on our roof. And we learned from our fire department after the Fort Mac fire and after the Loon Lake fire, that houses with the sprinklers on the roof in Loon Lake were not burned down because it's the embers So if we can do that, and I don't think anyone around me has a sprinkler on their roof, but I do have dropped them off their information. So I'm just wondering if that's on our website to encourage people to look at the rules under fire smart, and that will help us.
Councillor Sandy?
And just going through this, like some of the sections were really specific to like our infrastructure, the roles and responsibilities of our departments. And it's quite vague, it just says public works. So it's not specific on what those roles are, but I think, as I say, it would be important to do like a tabletop exercise, so that not just council, not just, but our staff is also what their roles and responsibilities are.
Well, for me, it seems to have been asked for quite a few times. I guess I'll pose a question to staff and the mayor. If a wildfire was to break out tomorrow, does everyone know their rules and are there things in place so that we know what we're doing? I guess that's what we're looking for, is reassurance that things are in place, because
Things are in place. I think that was a conversation that recently the CAO had with the chief.
Okay. So everyone knows their roles and things, because you know, I think that's what we're looking for, is whether everything's in place. I know that we can be bogged down with a lot of paperwork, but you know, we've got to be able to react to that. So if everyone's confident in that, that's great. Yeah.
And we're lucky here, it's not like Port Alberni, we have lots of different roads that we can go. If it's, I've always said, if the fire's that way, you go that way. If the fire's that way, you go that way. Now, if it's all surrounding us, then there's a problem. So it's people that move here maybe should be made aware of the other routes, get the back roads maps and that kind of thing to see where to go.
I was just gonna make a comment on the sprinklers, Caroline was talking about. Through the Fire Smart program, the fire department, local fire department has special sprinklers. You can for the roof, you can attach them on the roof, you can put them on your yard. There's a soaker hose with it, and I think you get 2 sprinklers, approximately, I think $225 the kit is.
Oh, you can make one yourself too, though. Yeah.
And just to follow up on that, so with Public Works and your role in the response, is it staff trained at that level of what your guys' responsibilities are if an emergency does hit?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No, we got to work on
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment that with what went on at the Malahad and in Highway 8, Highway 4, more and more residents are becoming aware and going, what's the plan? And it's if there's a counselor and you go, well, yeah, fire smart and, you know, regional, but I think it's better. I agree with Councillor Sandu. We need a tabletop exercise that we all have the same information. Because even with regional, well, the CBRD can't help us if they can't get here. And so I feel more confident knowing what the actual process is and not relying on waiting for other people to come help us. And then it makes our residents also feel a little more secure, that know that we all know what's going on from staff all the way down.
And if I may, I think the regional response would be more coordinating via phone or radio if need be, on coordination of those services that could be afforded to us, whether it be BC wildfire or other entities, whatever the situation may be. It could be a flood, it could be a landslide, it could be a number of things, but our number one priority is our interface, our forest interface. We have been identified as a very high risk of that. So that should be the focus of the tabletop moving forward, on not only the pecking order, but what each person is responsible for. It's laid out, but we can all think that we know what we're doing until we need to know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So the tabletop will give you that practicum to move forward in a situation of that event. If it is surrounded by us, I suggest we all jump in the river and perhaps walk down to Little Beach and get out there.
Because it really brought it home when I was watching the one and they were saying that people were starting to hoard groceries. Because
And they will do that.
and yeah, so there's automatic reaction is to survive. And so I think the more you let people know.
And there was an update today, Mr. Chair, through you on the situation in Highway 4 and the status of that moving forward. There's a possibility next week of single alternating traffic through Highway 4, but that update won't come till Monday. They're looking at not opening it entirely until probably July with the situation of rock and trees coming down, etc. So there was a briefing today, in the news, and
Thoughts to all those affected by it. That's got to be tough for Tofino at the moment. If I may move on, we've got a request for reconsideration of the protocol framework. Skill, would you like to summarize it?
It's not popping up on my end. Give it 1 second. But it was a previous protocol agreement. So they're looking with, we're looking to re-sign another protocol agreement with the First Nations. And identify economic opportunities and priorities of the region.
This one includes the CBRD, so they're looking for 3 parties. They're looking for 3 parties to be involved.
I think we received an email after our last meeting where we decided to go on an independent local agreement with our First Nation. They had applied for some funding to Highland Coastal Economic Trust on a tripartite agreement. I've had discussions with the CAO of the regional district on the possibility of us being a signatory to the tripartite one, and also to work on a singular one with our autonomous situation with our neighbors who are contiguous to us. So if you are all okay with that, we could be signatories to the CBRD one, and then reach out to Mr. Hamilton on our regional agreement as well. So that would be the avenue that I would suggest that we move forward with, because we all know that we have more connectivity to our local First Nation than Shawnigan would, for instance. There are some interesting entities that would come regionally, but more so on a local basis. So I would move that we become signatories of the tripartite agreement and move forward with a local community to community protocol.
And moved by Mayor McGonigal. We have a seconder on that. Second by Councillor Market. Is there any more discussion on that topic?
And if I may, in hindsight, had we been aware of the situation on the application for those funds, I'm thinking we would have made that decision at that time, but unfortunately, we were not. Well, I wouldn't say we weren't apprised of that, but we didn't know what the ramifications of not signing the tripartite would be, and perhaps not allowing them to get those funds. So we certainly do not want to hold that up. And moving forward, if that does pass, I'll reach out to with Subhasit and just explain your situation.
That'll call the question. All those in favour? Those if any? Let's move. Update on 63 Cowichan Lake Road. Ms. Gill would like to.
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add. So I think that's just for information.
And if I may, I think we just have to let the process run its course. It's sometimes a long, convoluted process. We have noticed that in the past, dealing with other properties that were deemed unsafe and unhealthy. So we have to be patient and let the process just run through. I know it gets frustrating at times because it can seem like we have square wheels on our vehicle, and just bear with it, and hopefully it'll come to some resolution.
Quite fitting that something on that property has no wheels on. For nothing under Parks, Rec and Culture, Public Works, and Environmental Services, we have the traffic study for Uptown. It's good, I can never remember Uptown or Downtown.
Can we go back one?
Sorry,
Sorry, I'm a little slow to the Parks, Recreation and Culture. Just an update from our superintendent about parking down. I noticed the signs are gone from Robbins.
Yeah, we hired BIR to do the
BRI security.
yeah, they're out on the weekend. I believe that we asked staff to post on our Facebook page about the new parking, which hasn't been put out yet, but people are sure realizing what's going on down there. They're very present, which is good to see.
There'll be some more signage put up where they're just being made right now, so hopefully in another couple of days we'll have them.
Okay, people are asking, so I just wanted to.
There's 2-hour parking
Clarification as to, and we're being monitored.
monitored. We're trying to educate rather than fine, but if they persist on doing it, I be told.
And we got a short email about the washrooms and vandalism. So what's the status of washrooms once the summer hits?
Close them down.
Hopefully the LNC is.
It is getting very frustrating,
Yeah.
but I spoke with Joe about that. Just keep on cleaning them and opening them up. So we'll continue doing it. We've had to paint them, we've had to fix toilets, we've had to toilet tanks, paper dispensers, walls, some of the corner beads on the walls ripped down.
And people are doing this during the daytime,
Yeah, yeah,
but at night they're closed.
they could have closed that dust.
Oh,
Maybe also address the suntan lotion dispensers around town, that there's been vandalism on those.
We had put 4 of them up and the 2 in town vandalized, one for duck pond and one for Save Up, so we removed them now. We're working with Save Your Skin Foundation. They provided the dispensers and free suntan lotion, which is water friendly, river friendly. But unfortunately, we've had to remove them already. We've got 1 day out of one and 2 days out of the other. So we're gonna come up with a different, I'll come up with a different plan how we're gonna do it.
And it's unfortunate that we've seen a rash of vandalism. It comes in cycles, it seems, and although we don't have an idea of who the culprits are, everybody pays the price as taxpayers regardless. So I think it's unfortunate that that is happening. All small communities or large communities for that matter will thrifting or that sort of thing. But I don't think people realize the impacts on the taxpayers when that does occur. It's added costs in public works, it's added cost in infrastructure, it's added costs in purchasing to replace broken items. So we all, even us as councillors, will be paying the price of these acts of vandalism. We take pride in trying to make our community as helpful and friendly and enticing as we can. And to see some of the vandalism just gets very depressing in trying to move forward. So, on the sunscreen note, it's unfortunate that those were placed through the Save Our Skin Foundation. I had numerous calls from media agencies asking about that, and Times Colonist picked it up with a short story. I didn't mention that there was vandalism in that article as well, so don't know what to do about it. Just persevere and everybody keep an eye on things. It's not ratting. If you know who did it, it's just rectifying the situation.
I have a question. I don't know if it's proper or not, but do we think it's young people or do we have any idea?
Yeah, it's what I've been told is younger people. They've been seen by other people, but they don't know names or anything. So it's it was a group of 10 boys and Duck Pond Again, I was told it was a young group, I don't know any names.
I wonder if that's something to mention to the RCMP, that maybe if they go to the school and talk to the school at one of their, when they have their assemblies and talk to them about that kind of thing. We still have the liaison, Shannon is the liaison, Corporal Shannon is the liaison for this school. It might be something to talk to. Is that something we would suggest to the RCMP?
Certainly wouldn't hurt to forward that.
Yeah.
We could, and we have actually coordinated with the school and asked them to, in a respectful manner, advise what vandalism costs and.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know,
And if I may, I think they're also finding some vandalism within the school properties as well. So it seems a cyclical thing with some groups as they move in through their growing up, they're flashing out every 5 years. And if I can just piggyback on the parking, I signed that contract, I believe, last week. To start off with, it's looking just at weekends, long weekends as well. So on a long weekend, it would be a 3-day patrol. If there is a need for increased patrols during the heavy summer season, that can be looked at as a piggyback on the current. Look forward to see what comes forward in a report, perhaps next month. We can see what the numbers are and what has happened in that to mitigate some of the problems.
If there's nothing else on Parks, Rec and Culture, we'll move on to Public Works and Environmental Services. The traffic study for Uptown, Westfield proposal. Skill, do you have anything? Mr. Skill?
Mr. Fernandez has been working on that. I don't know if we've got any proposals back yet.
So unlikely it'll happen this summer.
Yeah. Engineering companies are extremely busy. It's hard. But hopefully.
Fingers crossed. And I'll go back to you, update on Sandy Hook.
Sunny Dump, we're in the process of purchasing all the materials. We're just going back and forth with the paperwork, and hopefully we'll have that stuff within 3 weeks. But it won't get installed, unfortunately, this summer, probably September, October. Just so we have some time to get the bugs out of it. I don't want to put it in and it's not working properly for us.
Okay. No other questions right now?
Just a comment. I think as long as we have it purchased and it's in place for allocation next camping season, at least we've got that process started and we can look at what needs to be wired.
Yeah, it's wired in and through the slower season, we'll make sure that way it's working.
And if I may piggyback on that, I think aside from the Sandy Dump one, we should also be looking at some control on the water outlet there. We have seen abuse of that in the past, so I know it won't be piggyback with the Sandy Dump station, but just to keep that in mind moving forward. I know there's a camera there, but there's no ramifications for people coming in with 5,000 gallon tidy tank in the back and filling up. So just something to think about us as councillors as well. So, thank you.
I'd just like updates, that's all. If we get an update on the boat launch. They have the pay for launch, I think it's still in order box, isn't it? And those are near the duck pond, and the other one is.
Oh, there's just the one in
there's
Bull
just
Run.
the one.
Yeah.
And so that one is still actively being used and people are paying there.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, so hope people would put their donation in a bit more. We don't get a lot of revenue then.
Okay. So it's not worth looking at it.
We're gonna try some better signage, hopefully we'll stick it right in their face, so they see it.
Okay, okay.
More questions and comments on that?
Got it.
Okay, we'll move on to the next new business.
On the new business, Mr. Chair.
You gonna go
as
this one?
before, I will declare a conflict of interest as I am the vice chair of the funding organization. Thank you.
Yeah, the request is for a waiver of the building fees. Skill, would you like to address this?
Sure, we're in receipt of a letter requesting for a waiving of the building permit fees. No, I don't agree with providing that, only because of the new funding model that we have with the CBRD. This is the first year it came into effect. And, if you look at the town's increase in taxes this year, it was about 145,000. The CBRD's 260,000. So we're already paying our fair share. We were paying around $4,400 before this funding agreement came into effect for our share of the community center. So we're paying a lot more as is, and we'll be paying a lot more when the funding formula in 2024 becomes to 2/3 based on usage and 1/3 based on existing funding, and another increase in 2025. So by waiving these fees, we're in essence paying twice. We're paying through the requisition, and we're also providing a direct cost reduction to the arena and to this renovation for the locker room.
And we've also received a letter from our CAO with the recommendation of to approve this. Are there any questions or comments? Cindy?
I sit on the commission. So this gift from the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Co-op is a gift for this renovation cost. And so the taxpayers will not be footing this bill. So we can't put, in my opinion, the tax issue that our CAO is saying to this. What they're asking for is not to be charged for the permit, and that money will go into the project. So that's what we need to understand. This 100,000 is for cabinetry, flooring, tile work, painting, electrical, and the project manager, and a nutrition center. And so it is a big project, and anyone should actually go to the arena, take a tour down there. They've removed the wall between dressing room 2 and 3. That was part of the agreement that the arena had budgeted. And then part of this agreement of the gift of the 100,000, the arena has to look at next year the HVAC system, because that is a concern in the dressing rooms. So these little dressing rooms that are down there are for little kids. They're not for junior B players. And so I just want to say personally that this gift from the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Co-op of $100,000 to our facility is a pretty important, and we should all be very grateful and appreciate that we have an organization in our community that can allocate these kind of funds to make an improvement at a facility. So I am not in agreement with our CAO. I support this request, and it's minimal. I sent an email out Sunday night to a CAO asking what he thought the cost would be for the permit, but he's away, so I'm not sure. It could be between $1,000 and $2,000. So to me, that is pennies to what our community and our community facility is going to be receiving from this gift of $100,000. So I hope that my fellow councillors will support this.
That was my next question. I wanted to know what that permit fee was, so it's very minimal compared to.
Yes.
And so, sorry, through the chair. So the 100,000 was gifted, and there was something here about saying that if it got carried through though, of this do I say this? The 100,000, the renovations are going to be done with that money. It's not going
Yeah.
to.
No, it's just for
It's not
that.
affecting the taxpayers,
No.
because the taxpayers aren't paying for it under
No.
this formula.
No.
So it's an upgrade to our arena. And I was thinking about it on the weekend and I thought you would, especially with new council, and I've been here 9 years and I still don't understand that the community hall belongs to the town of Lake Cowichan.
They just manage it.
And they manage it for us. The arena was built by the community. And then it was taken over by the CBRD. And so I don't have an understanding, a clear understanding of who's paying for what, who owns it. It still belongs. And so who, yeah, Ms. Gill.
Yeah, it was a decision of previous councils to join the Cowichan Lake Rec Commission and give away the ownership and control. And so that's been done. Once you're in, you can't, I've never seen anybody been able to get back out of that agreement. That being said, we've always paid, the town paid on a water treatment plant, $27,000, almost $26,424 for permit fees. And in the future, if you do this once, is that going to be a precedent that you're setting? And it's really not fair to the taxpayers of Lake Cowichan. They are going to be paying substantial sums for the maintenance and operations of that. And all the other recreational facilities that are part of that. So,
Could I ask, so what would, I know that SEO is away, but is there any idea, can we get confirmation of what this building permit will cost?
we can come back when we have an amount. I wasn't under the impression that it was a nominal amount, but it could be. So,
Because based off the water treatment plant in the millions, it was 26,000, so. Is this a time sensitive thing or could we, it is time sensitive?
Well, let Councillor Austin.
Well, I was just gonna say, I do agree with the recommendation. Because you are setting a precedent. And it isn't like it's $50,000 or something. I thought it was 4. I don't know, but I mean, I'm happy with the recommendation because you are setting a precedent here. And it's separate from that. I know it's nice to have the money for the Forest Call. They've done a wonderful job. They do great work through the community. And I work at the rec center myself, so I've had people tell me how awful that room is. Those rooms downstairs are. So, I mean, I can move it, but if nobody's gonna move it, so I just.
I think you're moving different things.
Well, I'll move the recommendation, and if I have a seconder, then that's fine. You have to wait.
If Councillor Austin called the motion, we have a seconder.
So you're moving the recommendation from the CAO?
Yes,
You're supporting the recommendation of not
we
waiving fees.
recommend to not waive the fees.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Actually, I'll second it so we can get it voted on and move on.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
But just for clarity, wouldn't we need a motion
It depends how it goes.
if we vote this down?
Then
Then we have to, we approve,
we'll go back.
then we can
to
go
the-
back and forth for another. Okay, are there any discussions, further discussions or comments on the recommendation, supporting the recommendation, Councillor Sanders?
I just, in this, I just want to say that this is a gift of $100,000. So to me, it's not setting a precedent in the sense of the taxpayers are paying this for this project. So I just want to be clear on that. And you can't compare apples and oranges when it comes to the water treatment plant. Maybe we should have actually asked for the permit to be waived, but that's our issue. But that's where I'll leave it for now.
Councillor Lamarca.
So my question is even if the building permit fees are waived, there's still a building inspection of all the renovations that they will oversee. So it's not that if we don't pay that fee, the building inspector is
still
not
will
gonna
go
go and look at it. It's still there, it's still safe.
He will have,
Yeah,
The town will still be incurring those.
yeah,
Will
that's
be
right.
incurring
Okay.
costs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor of the CIO's recommendation to not waive fees for the building permit? All those against? Now, is there any other recommendations or motions? Sorry.
So we have to make a new. well, we'll get it
We
right.
have to make a new motion. Would anyone like to?
I make a motion that we waive the renovation permit fees for the Cotw Lake Recreation project.
Okay, do we have a second? That's the marker. Are there any questions or comments before we call the question? Call the question. All those in favour? Against, if any? Very good show that Councillor Austin was against this. And there was no- It was hot.
It is hot.
Oh, man.
The doors are
Almost done.
You can leave the door
What
open.
does it get from that?
Oh, man.
It's minimal working.
Is it cooler out there or?
No.
It's, yes, it is.
Moving on to the B new business, the town gift for Otaki representation.
Unfortunately, I should have brought this forward a lot earlier, but I'm wondering if you would allow me to reach out to local artists for a piece of artwork to take as a gift for town to town presentation. Otaki on our delegation, which goes to that. If so, I will need a resolution about that.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second there.
Seconded.
Still Mike.
And just one question, what would the budget be, do you think, for something like that? What have we done in the past?
Can't recall. I will reach out to Ms. Hill and just see what we have been afforded. We do have a tacky budget, so
Yeah.
I think we can utilize some funds.
Yeah, the question then. Those in favour? Those opinion? It's moved. Okay, under new business C, I have the Chamber of Commerce location. I realize we don't want to end proceedings with late agenda items, but with their grand opening in 2 days, I thought that it was important that we do address this. From what I understand is the property owner has been sent a letter saying that the location of the Chamber of Commerce is not in compliance as far as the building use and the zoning of the building. And the chamber, the building owner has asked the chamber not to move forward with operations, so they are contemplating cancelling the opening on Thursday night. My question would be to staff, and the CAO is not here. As far as the C4 zoning with business services, I feel like that portion of it would be correct operating in a C4 zoning.
If they were in the building, yes.
Okay. And then furthermore to that, so do we have the original building permit that shows that the kiosk is not to be used for anything apart from advertising?
I have not seen that myself, but I can probably ask the building inspector. May not be in tomorrow, but until when the next time he's in.
The building owner was not aware of that stipulation is what they're telling the tenant in this case. They thought it was fine to rent that spot out. I did pass on my advice that the Chamber of Commerce should have approached the town before moving into that kiosk. But they're promised by, what they said was they're promised by the landlord that it was fine to happen. So I just was wondering if there's any fellow councillors have questions or comments on this situation.
The only comment I have is that there's no washroom in the facility, so I mean, if you're staying in there, running an office out of there, it'd be better for them to be in the building. And that's a high traffic area, kind of a dangerous traffic area for having events on that corner. You know, people come along into town and they go right into the gas station sometimes without seeing you even driving down the road. It's not that we don't want them to have a space, but I think they'd be better off within the building that has washroom facilities and it's a proper building. The kiosk is just meant for advertising normally.
For background, that was in the letter from the CAO to move into the main building. But from what I understand, the main building is going to be leased out as well. And they don't have an opportunity to move into the main building. So yeah, it's a tough situation with their relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to go.
Thank you. I did have a brief conversation with the CAO on this, and was apprised of the grandfathering of advertising with the real estate portion of that kiosk, so to say. That was grandfathered in C4 zoning when it came forward. I think in hindsight, if the chamber had have come forward or with the property owner with a possibility of a temporary use permit, while we found another location may have appeased some of the problems there, but there is a parking issue if there's going to be any events there. I don't think it's the proper location for that. I certainly don't want to see any more disdain between the two entities. We're trying to mend some fences, and this is certainly not getting us to that level of cooperation. I suggest that perhaps at the return of the CAO that a chamber member come in and see if there is any way that we can move forward. I would think that they would have to postpone their grand opening. I would not advise them to go forward with that as advertised until the situation is cleared up. I hope we can find a situation that is amicable to both parties. One of the problems there is with no bathroom and the park WorkSafe would also become involved. We certainly don't want to have WorkSafe come in and shut them down for that entity. Even though it would be not the town was the bad guy, but WorkSafe. That is another problem for the bathroom facilities for whoever is working with the facility.
Oh, sorry. I looked at both sides of it, and I believe that when Nissim did come here, we were unaware of the reason when she did come for that rezoning application. And so it kind of died right there. Had we known from the chamber and her that was, then we could have worked with them. So when I looked at the copies of the zoning with the C4 zoning, the accessory use, and unfortunately I had to look at it and go, okay, it's like us having a house and then we rent out the garage to somebody and let them live in there. So it is an accessory building, so I understand that, but they may have the opportunity now to rent the larger building because the tenant that was going to move in there is not going to. So maybe that might be an opportunity for them to move forward. And then the sign fee, obviously, if they rented the location, the sign would go on the main building, then you have the washrooms, etc., that are all covered. So I understand on one side, it's good to have them here to represent businesses in Lake Cowichan, but I understand the accessory use of that spot. And they thought they were doing everything right. And unfortunately, we didn't know what they were going to do. That's led us to this situation. Now, I'm wondering whether, because of the time crunch, whether the table would be amicable to allow them their grand opening that's been planned and that event only. Because they have secured parking from the neighboring property, and then say no such future events until this is dealt with. And if the wish of the table is no, then I completely understand too.
Well, I think if we go against our bylaws, then anybody can come here and say, you know, so I wish this conversation hadn't happened sooner, but I can't support giving them a one-night event, under these circumstances. Unfortunately.
Councillor Austin.
And I just want to say, we shouldn't say it's because the chamber and us are not getting along. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. If that was anyone else, if Lorna was going to go and put her shop in that building, we'd say the same thing. There's no bathroom and the traffic there is not good on that corner or the other corner at Neva. I came down there the other day and a car came right across into the gas station in front of me. So, it is dangerous and you worry about people walking and that there. So it's nothing to do with the chamber versus the town. And we should forget about even saying those things. It's totally separate.
Yeah.
And the original rezoning was for other things other than that. It wasn't mentioned at the time, but it was also for several other things they wanted to do there. It was not about the chamber moving there. They never said that until.
I believe there is a meeting scheduled for the 20th between the CAO and the chamber. Thank you for that. I have been given a heads up that there may be some media stories coming out about this situation.
Good, hope they're honest. The truth is always the truth.
And I will add, I think I was one that seen them setting up there. I was also wondering why chamber members were in attendance when the property was. Question was about rezoning and we were always wondering why. So I guess if there wasn't transparency, it is tough, but the other question I had in regards to that, what is the rationale behind not having a not-for-profit or charity not requiring a business license in Lake Cowichan to set up? So what I've been told is that they don't need a business license, because if you have a business license process, you'd go through all the things with the washroom and the parking, much like if say the food bank moved onto the main road, like they can set up anywhere without a business license. Is that correct?
Sorry, why not-for-profits are not allowed, are not required to have a business license?
Yeah, if someone's setting up a storefront, if it's a not-for-profit, why do we not require a business license to operate?
I guess, because we deem them as being
Not a business.
not a business. Yeah, a business license is required for businesses that are for profit.
Would it be appropriate to have something in place so that, as I said, like a food bank or something, if they're planning on setting up, it could be reviewed by the town, because then this wouldn't happen. Anyway, something for future consideration.
I think that's one of the loopholes that, chamber actually does provide a service to the business community.
Yeah.
So it is actually a business for the businesses, and as a society, the loophole is that no building or no business license is required. And unfortunately, I like the idea of one-offs, perhaps for those possibilities moving forward. So perhaps we can ask the CAO if there's any appetite for that moving forward. For those that do provide a service to business, perhaps with a business permit. Just thinking outside the box.
Anything further?
I was just gonna say, so, who's going to make notice to the chamber that they will have to postpone and cancel their event, being that our CAO is not
Our
here.
acting CIO.
Our acting CAO will do that, because we don't want to just leave them hanging on wondering, because they
I
have
think it's
secured.
a suggestion postponing at this time until there is a resolution.
Because they have secure vendors, and it's only fair to those vendors
Yeah.
that they know what they're
Short
doing.
notice. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone for addressing that one. The next thing was a quick one with the wildfire shutting down Highway 4. Businesses have started looking to promote themselves, and one business in particular stumbled across the business directory on the town website. I'm just wondering if staff can answer this. Do businesses get posted there when they have their business license, and are businesses removed come January 1st until they renew?
Yeah, they've been removed until they pay January 1st, and then sorry, when the business licenses go out in November, they're not removed until sort of the end of January, in February, and then they get added back on as they pay. It is something that once that get busy, sometimes doesn't happen as quickly as it should. And right now we're looking at a complete revamp of that site. I don't know if anybody's been on the Town of Lake Cotw website, but there's some small modifications. It's working a little better on the mobile. The contrast has been changed. So we've got a website designer that's been working on it. And he's going to be changing the fonts and make it just appear nicer, maybe adding a search. And this is one of the things that will be on his list to look at. So that it's easier to update. We have looked at other municipalities. Some of them just have a printout that comes out of the accounting software. It doesn't look that pretty, but it is updated quickly. So we're looking at the pros and cons of which way to go right now. So in the next month or so, that will be changing and it'll be better.
So I wasn't actually aware of the business directory. So looking forward. Notice of motion. Do you remind me what you noticed?
Thank you. It's just to look at bringing forward a inquiry response policy for emails and phone calls. We've all received a number of emails on people who have tried to contact either by law or the town a number of times and have not had a response. So I'd just like a policy in place. We can discuss the parameters of that at a future meeting. So just to clarify, it's an inquiry response policy. I believe other government entities do have that policy in place. So if we do not have one, I'd like to see one in place.
That would be going to the next whole meeting.
Yes, we can do it then. Move to the next committee role.
Okay, next up, we have question period.
Just before question
Sorry.
period, if I may, I'd just like to do a couple of public information things.
Okay.
First of all, a big congratulations to Bob Day and the Trailblazers for a great opening of their trail system. We were all there and we were separated, so there was no quorum, just so everybody was assured there was no meeting. We were all there to support the local trail system and the culmination of many years of that Trailblazers organization. Also, this weekend is the Sachi Lake Fire Department Muscular Dystrophy tournament. They are looking to reach $1 million in funds that have been raised through that organization. If you have a chance to come out Saturday for the auction, we all know that men have a secret stash in their wallet. So open your wallets,
In their shoe.
come out and help the Sachi group get to $1 million in funding for muscular dystrophy research. We do have a couple of young gentlemen in our town who are afflicted by this horrible disease, and any funds that move forward stay in Canada and mostly in British Columbia. If you do have a chance, come on up. I'll be the auctioneer, so
Oh, God.
raise your hand unless you want to.
Don't raise a finger.
But again, thank you to staff and all councilors for work that you do. And this is our town. Appreciate it.
So we'll move on to question period before we ask staff if we had any by email or phone. We'll ask for anyone in attendance that'd like to speak.
Yeah,
Thanks for putting up with the heat. And we'll just get you to state your name and address, and you're limited to 3 minutes. If you need more, we will we'll talk about that.
I think you all know me. My name's Lauren Shepard. I'm the
Talk to
chairman.
the owl.
I wouldn't mind sitting. I got that.
That's
My name's Lauren Shepard. I'm the chairman of the Cowichan Lake Community Forest. A couple of things. One, I'd like to express our gratitude from the co-op to the chamber and its work superintendent for finally getting the pump into the Memorial Park. It came as quite a nice surprise to see the water going again in the fountain. And many people have said how much they appreciate that part. So thanks very much for that. I would have liked to have spoke to you in regards to your deliberation in regards to the letter you received from the CBRD, I've been very involved in the negotiations with the CBRD over the washroom.
Better.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You're always doing that.
Yeah, too, but-
So, one of the things that when we donated the money, there was an issue at the arena. And we see the arena as ours, irregardless of anything else. The arena is ours, it's Lake Cowichan, and it'll always remain that way, particularly in our hearts. The dressing room situation, as you know, we have a Kraken hockey team. It's been here, this will start the third year. The dressing rooms were appalling. I couldn't even get down there, to be honest with you, for the stench and crowded conditions that were in there. They couldn't get the other dressing rooms because those dressing rooms are dedicated to our young people in our minor hockey program. So it was becoming very difficult to bring in quality players because everybody would come and have a look at that place and they'd say, hell no, I'm not gonna play there, I'll play somewhere else. We're competing with other communities for a hockey team. That hockey team brings that arena about $100,000 a year. They've been here 2 years, they've got a 5-year term, and we want to keep them in here. The business community in this town 100% supports that hockey team. And what it's done is it's made the arena have a Friday night and a Sunday night that have got lots of people in our community attending those hockey games, which is creating employment. We're finally getting value out of our staff that's in that arena, and the arena is making money. We want to keep that team in here. Now, it came to our attentions because we're some of the supporters of it. We also financially support the hockey team. But I didn't want the money going to the hockey team. I wanted the money going to the arena to make the significant changes that need to be made there to bring in quality players. And even if they left, there would be quality dressing rooms for our hockey programs. Over the last 2 years, I've been in negotiations with the hockey team and the arena over issues. The dressing room is a huge issue, as well as storage. They don't have any room for storage there in that arena for the hockey team and for the arena programs. The arena is doing a cladding project this year, which is costing a fortune to the taxpayer. And they haven't got any more budget to help with the dressing room stuff. So when we first went with the idea, hey, look, we'll fund this dressing room, they were ecstatic. And after we looked at got all the contracts, and they've got a procurement project. When we looked at that and added up all those fees, we said, you know, maybe if we try and cut some of these contractor prices, we can get them to support the community, which all of them have done now. Maybe, and we can get some relief on the building inspector fees. Maybe we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That $100,000 might be able to get a storage container that's got heating in it, and also look after the significant changes we're going to make in those dressing rooms. So I really appreciate the fact that you folks support us on this, because it's not only the CBRD. I hounded them to make sure they sent you guys a letter, because I want to see the issue resolved between the team and the arena and the CBRD. Let's get both things done in one thing. The arena is going to have to come up with $47,000 or $46,000 next year to take care of the HIVAC. They just don't have the funds to do that. We said that's fine as long as you do it in the next year to get that done. You get the check for $100,000. So I just wanted to fill you in on that, and I want to thank you very much on behalf of the Cowichan Lake Community Forest for supporting us. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
We usually say we don't make decisions, but we already have them.
That's
So,
right.
You should have been a delegation.
yeah.
That's what you should have done.
You know me with the rules of eggs.
I know.
Have you received any other questions via email?
Just a couple suggestions, both from Bill Garrett. One was on the vandalisms, which maybe installed some security
Sorry, I
cameras.
forgot to bring McGonagall back in.
Oh, yes.
My apologies.
Me too, I forgot.
Let's leave him out there and see what happens. Oh,
Thanks, mate.
thanks, Lauren.
Yeah.
Help us. It's like air conditioning.
That is fair.
Hey, Lauren,
Leave the door open. Why?
come check for me.
We're back to where we
We almost got to bring it in for suggestion period, it sounds like, so we just have an email correspondence.
Yes, just that we should install some security cameras to prevent vandalism. And the second one was on the CBRD influence fee structure. Cover the cost of the maintenance, and the upgrades that was voted on, and we support staff recommendation to not wait. And that was it, no questions.
It's, can I just say, question period is question
Well,
period?
that's what I'm about to ask.
And I know Lauren really well. I used to work with him for 12 years. It would have been better had Lauren been a delegation to tell us all this stuff, which I know most of the stuff anyway, but question period is for questions, not telling us what to do. And people have said that to me before. Sometimes, even Bill, and I know Bill quite well. I'll say, it's to ask a question of why are you doing that, rather than telling us what to do.
So if I may, but perhaps what is required is a space on here for public input. As we've had.
Not question period, then just public
The
input.
public input on items on the agenda. So prior or just after approval of the agenda, there will be a possibility for public input on any items. And that way you would negate the input at the end. Because
Yeah.
people want to speak to what is on the agenda. And if they're only afforded at the question period, that is their only opportunity to have input. So that may be an opportunity moving forward to have public input, similar to regional district does that prior to the agenda moving forward, after the agenda has been approved. And it's still the same, it's 3 minutes for any public input, and it would be only for the people who are attending in person.
Okay, in person, public.
Similar.
And we did try that too. When Mayor Day brought that forward, and it just didn't seem, I don't know why. it was
Well, but we
taken
can
off
still
the-
put it in though.
Put it back on, it was. Maybe people just didn't know why or what it was for.
Well, it says public input,
Yeah.
so.
Something to think about moving forward if you wish to have the
Yeah.
input of.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting until the end of the question period, where you will have that public input.
Yeah.
I saw it similar to when there was a delegation about placing homes pre-1990 here.
Yeah,
Most of that discussion was based on public input and not questions.
that was not good.
So that would be a way to accuse at least the opportunity for the input.
Or they should be a delegation if they, so, like, you could have been a delegation.
I think there's also a difference between public input, question period, and approval or disapproval of what the council's moves or actions have been over that time. And I think it'd be more fitting if it was sent to the CAO after the meeting. We don't need a rating of how we've done during the meeting. So that could be suggested that it just goes to the CAO afterwards, which would be communicated. to
Yeah.
us. But
Good idea.
that's one thing that I've struggled with, since joining the council is that is question period or statement period, so. Yeah, I'd love something to change there.
Okay.
So let's discuss that moving forward, how we can implement both for some opportunity for the public on any item that is on that agenda.
And we do encourage interaction between public and council.
person.
We would like to see more people here. So I don't mean to sound negative on it, but would love a lot more questions on council or public input. With that. we'll adjourn.
Adjourn.
Adjourn. Adjourned. Thank you very much.